What is going on, everybody, and welcome on into episode 238 of the Garage Beers podcast, brought to you proudly here on the OBR streaming network. Get over to the OBR.com, hit subscribe, get onto the Twitter page, follow the OBR, and make sure while you're over there, you get over to the Garage Beers on all the socials, and make sure you hit follow there as well. Whether you are joining us tonight live on YouTube, on Twitch, on X or Twitter, or whatever the hell it's called, or whether you are joining us later on the podcast version, Apple, Spotify, all that, we welcome you in. We are pumped for a humongous show tonight, as again, this whole season, since it started weeks ago, the Cavaliers have not lost a game. I don't know what defeat tastes like. I don't know what it's like to lose. Screw you, Cleveland Browns. I don't know what it's like to lose here in Cleveland. And we have got a great special guest, an old friend of ours, and a guy we're very lucky to be able to just have on whenever he's down and whenever he's available. And the Cavs luckily have an off night tonight. So we got the radio voice of the Cleveland Cavaliers, Tim Alcorn. He's going to join us here in just a minute. But then later in the show, we've had a Browns off week. We had a Browns bye week. So we'll get back into it. It was nice to take a break for a minute, but then we'll get back into it. We will talk about a little bit of hockey, a little bit of college football, and all that and so much more. So it's a great episode here on episode 238 of the Garage Beers podcast. I'm your host, Michael Keefe. Follow me online at Garage Beers Mike. And joining me tonight, first over on the east side of Cleveland, find him online at Garage Beers Chad. It's Chad Meyer. What's up, Chad?
What's up, man? What's up? I don't know. Me and my spectacular beard are ready to do a podcast. I don't know if you guys can see it. Look at that. Look at that lineup. Look at that. No neck beard. I don't want to make it look sloppy.
Yeah. Look at that.
What the people can't see is how seamlessly it connects to the back hair.
Oh, don't you know it? Yeah, I'm doing No Shave November or Movember, whatever the hell it's called, for the first time. And yeah, I got my beard oil with me. So it doesn't get itchy, because you grow that beard out, man. It's Joe, you know, Mike, you'll never know ever.
Gotta do the beard oil.
It's itchy. It gets so damn itchy. But the beard oil helps.
It's great. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Baby's bottom right here. Baby's bottom. Smooth.
Ugh, gross. Tell that was a actual baby's ass or your chin.
Just wait till I put on my face diaper.
Oh, shit.
Chad, looking handsome. Handsome Chad joining us on the pod tonight. Love it. Also joining us down in Nashville, Tennessee. Find him online at Garage Beers. Joe, it's Joey Whalen. What's up, Joe? Welcome back, buddy.
Thanks, guys. I think I need to get the NBA League Pass now. I think I got to do it.
Now?
I mean, I've always done the hockey passes. It's tough. You know, not being in Cleveland, there's a lot of subscriptions you got to do to watch teams. You got to prioritize some at certain times. But the Cavs just can't miss basketball.
Every night.
I mean, they're electric, dude. The guys are just playing out of their minds, and we're going to get into it. But, like, yeah, I can use more of that. I'm not getting it on Sundays, so
we'll put up a Venmo for you guys to all donate to Joe's NBA League Pass here tonight, so he can make sure he's tuned in. So, again, we got the whole group. And, again, later on in the pod, we're going to talk about the Browns. We're going to talk. I think there's a lot of fun things going on in college football. College basketball has started, and we might even dive into that. We got hockey. We got all that stuff. We're going to dive into all of that, but we're going to start by bringing in our special guests. And again, the minute you hear his voice, you're going to know who it is. It is the radio voice of the Cleveland Cavaliers and a good old friend of ours, Tim Alcorn, joins us back on the Garage Beers podcast live from Philadelphia. Tim, welcome back to the Garage Beers podcast. Oh, Tim's muted. Are you muted?
Am I muted?
There it is.
There we go. Great to see you again. Now, I got to let Joe know, there is also a league audio pass, which is like $10 for the whole season.
That's a great idea, Tim.
So you can listen to the Cavs, you can listen to the Heat, you can listen to the Celtics, you can listen to whoever you want. It's $10 for the whole year for the NBA League audio pass.
Now, Tim, real quick, if you could just clarify on that real quick, if Joe were to participate in the NBA League audio pass, who would he be able to hear call Cavaliers games?
Me.
That's right. That's right.
You told me, Tim. I was on the fence with League Pass. I'll do the audio.
For example, like tomorrow night, he could listen to me or the Philly guy, who's a great guy, Tom. So you get the option of both in every game for the audio pass.
I'm in.
Whatever, Tom. We're not listening to Tom. We're listening to Tim.
Yeah.
Tim Alcorn, undefeated. Well, how's it feel to be undefeated, Tim? The undefeated radio voice of the Cleveland Cavaliers. You are undefeated.
Michael, a very wise man once said to me, Timothy, your name will never be in the box score. I have nothing to do with the wins and losses, but I am having an absolute blast calling nothing but wins so far. I mean, what an extraordinary start. Nobody, and I mean nobody, saw this coming. It is absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Well, listen, we're going to dive into it. But before we do that, I don't know. I should have checked with you before we came on. Tim, were you able to grab a Philadelphia beer or no?
I'm sorry, I was not. It's been a crazy day. We left Chicago late. We got into Philly late, and then rush hour traffic in Philly. So my stay here has been brief, and yet I made the time to get on the Garage Beers podcast. I wouldn't miss this.
It's a day off, and he's making you work, Tim. I'd be mad at Mike. I'd be just absolutely pissed.
Listen, we go back a long way. So, Michael and Chad, they came through in the crunch for me several times. So anytime they text or call or ask if I can make it work, I'm going to make it work.
Well, it is good to have you. We'll do our Garage Beers of the Week later. But listen, before we get to the Cavs, Tim, let's throw you back. And you start every year. I love this about you. You come back to WEOL every year, and you start every high school football season, and you do a few games with us on WEOL. Now we're at that point of the year where we're getting into regional semifinal football action. And Chad and I are like giddy like little children for the game we've got this week with Highland and Anthony Wayne. It's going to be unbelievable. But like, I know you're used to going into Madison Square Garden and the TD Garden and the, I don't even know what the Staples Center is called anymore. I don't remember what its name is now. But it had even every year for you at WEOL when we got to this point of the year and we whittled this thing down to the best football teams left in the state of Ohio. You had to get excited about these last few games of the season, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's nothing like high school football, and there's nothing like high school football come playoff time. And as you said, Michael, once you get deep, you get into these regional finals and state semifinals, the cream for the most part will rise to the top. And some of the greatest broadcasting experiences I've ever had have been at the high school football playoff deep into postseason runs. I can think of some classic Avon games with Midview and Toledo Central Catholic and Columbia games and right on down the line, Elyria Catholic games. I miss high school football. I do. And that's why I go back before the Cavs season starts to do a few games with WEOL. I love it, man. I love the smell of popcorn and the bands and the kids playing just for the fun of playing, the cheerleaders and the parents. I mean, everything that goes into high school football, it's special, it's unique. And there's nothing like playoff football when you get to this level in the Highlands and the Avons and those type of teams with those great traditions.
I know Chad's been texting me. Chad's been texting me this week. I'm all I do is look at, I don't know, Max Preps and Joe Idle, and I'm ready. I'm ready.
I couldn't wait to find out where we were going. I've been wanting to call this game forever, this Highland and Anthony Wayne game. They've been playing, I think, in this game for the last 4 years straight. It's always been close. It's always been tight. I can't wait. I was checking Friday night to see if they had a location yet for the game.
Usually wait till Sunday, right?
Yeah.
Well, they did.
But I was just hoping someone would have some inside info.
Well, I used to be able to help you with that, but my sources are dissipating now. But so I didn't see. So where are you guys going?
We're going to Bellevue.
Ooh, home of the Redmen.
Home of the Redmen.
I've done games from there. I've done games from Bellevue.
I know we're going in. We're going into the Tim Alcorn Perch at Bellevue High School.
I don't know about that, but
they're all called.
Enjoy it, man. There's nothing like high school football playoffs. Trust me, on Friday night, when I'm calling the Cavs and the Bulls, halftime, timeout breaks, I'm checking Twitter.
Send it over to us. Just send it over to us.
Yeah,
we'll come live for a little while. We'll come live at halftime for
Marty
a little
can
while.
plug us in. Marty can dial us in.
There you go.
Hey, I do want to give a shout out. I thought this was pretty cool. Chef Brian K., who's on our show in the comments a lot, says, wow, WEOL, memories from my hometown, born in Elyria in 1959. So shout out to you, Chef Brian K. There's a lot of WEOL going on here. And yeah, that's awesome. All right, Tim, let's bring you in for the number one, the main reason. And it's this start to the season for the Cleveland Cavaliers, because you go through the offseason, right? And they fired JB Bickerstaff. And there were a lot of questions about this Cavaliers team in the offseason, right? It was, first of all, they choose to extend everybody. Everybody gets extensions, right? Donovan Mitchell, obviously the main one. That was awesome. But they choose to extend anybody they could have extended, basically. And then they legitimately just run this team back. And the only personnel change they make on the team is a first-round draft pick. And otherwise, we're running this thing back like it was last year. We still haven't seen the full team, by the way, until Max Strus gets back. We don't even know what this full team looks like.
Right.
But the big change that they make is they bring in this new head coach, Kenny Atkinson. They turn this thing over on the staff side of things. And it's a lot of talk in the offseason about how they believe Kenny can develop these guys quickly, how he can unlock some things that maybe haven't been unlocked previously. And we were all just kind of waiting with bated breath to see what it would look like. Well, it looks like Donovan Mitchell's a superstar. Darius Garland's an all-star. Evan Mobley looks to be the player that we hoped he would be. Jared Allen's incredible. The bench is playing really well. Kenny Atkinson is playing guys a smart number of everything. Is just, there's nothing that you can say negative about what's going on with the Cavaliers now, and they have beat everybody they have played from your position. And now, having called games for this team for as long as you have, what's the difference in the feel, Tim, in the building when you're around these guys? What's the difference in the feel this year with this Cleveland Cavaliers team?
Yeah, it's a great question, Kenny. I think the feel, the vibe is that this is a team that's ready to take the next step. It has been a process. I know that's a cliche that's been used in sports for a long time, but this is now my 6th year, and I literally have seen that process play itself out through my first 5, where you struggle with young players, but you kind of let them learn from their mistakes, and then you bring in a veteran and you let these young kids grow. They bring in a guy like Ricky Rubio, and all of a sudden that team makes the play-in tournament. And then the following year they go another step, and they acquire a Donovan Mitchell, and they get to the first round and get knocked out by the Knicks. But as tough as that was, it's a learning experience. Last year, which was the next year, you fight through all those injuries, and you still put together a 48-win season. You go just in an incredible battle with Orlando and knock them out in 7. So before losing to Boston, and I think I've said it on your show a few months ago. Again, I don't like playing the what-if game, but to me, if Jared Allen and Donovan Mitchell are healthy in that Boston series, I'm not saying they would have beat Boston. Boston earned the NBA title. They had a hell of a year. But I think it goes deeper than 5. And because I think Jared Allen would have had a great series. He was the best player on the floor in the Orlando series. So there's a sense that, yes, we're now ready to take that next step. We're ready to get to an Eastern Conference Finals, or who knows, maybe an NBA Finals. But this is a team that has grown organically. And Michael, going back to your original point, the Cavs truly feel this roster is a championship level roster. The term you used, they're going to run it back. They're not saying that this team is seasoned enough right now, but they think that they didn't need to blow this up. They've got guys in place that can take the Cavaliers to a championship level basketball team, but they wanted somebody different to kind of look at the roster and look at schematics and say, what can we do differently? And man, they have struck gold with Kenny Atkinson. This guy, as you said, he's pushing every button. He's coaching on the fly, small lineups, big lineups. let's put the reserves out there for 7 minutes in the third quarter and erase a double-digit deficit. So Kenny Atkinson has been as good, if not better, than advertised. So you sense something really special is brewing with this team.
Was there ever any, like, now I know you can't give in to, public pressure. Obviously you can't give in to the armchair GMs, that some
like you and Michael.
Exactly. You can't give in.
But listen to us, and they did listen to us. They did just what I said they should do. It's great.
Yeah, but there
fans.
There was a lot of public speculation about the core four getting moved, or one of the bigs getting moved, or one of the. Was there any inkling that something might happen at all, or was this the plan all the time? Because let me tell you something. With all of that surrounding this team last offseason, Kobe Altman could have very well have done something, but it took a lot of guts for him to just keep this core four together. Something that everybody thought needed to be separated. But he just like Mike said, extended everybody. So I guess I want to give praise to the guts that Kobe Altman did, and just keep this thing together, just get a new coach and sort of retool the basketball team with a new coach.
Well, Chad, to use your word, I think Kobe Altman in his gut truly feels this roster, that's now his roster. He's assembled this roster through draft choices, through trades, a couple of free agents here and there. This is Kobe Altman's roster. He feels this is a championship level roster. It can compete with anybody in the Eastern Conference. And so he's stuck to his convictions. Now, the huge piece was Donovan Mitchell. And for Donovan to sign that extension this summer, I think that sent a message to everybody, not only in Cleveland, but throughout the NBA. We're on to something special here, because Donovan Mitchell has said, I want to stay here. We're building something. We've got an up-and-coming star in Evan Mobley. We've got an all-star in Darius Garland, who will return to form, which he has after a real difficult season last year. Jared Allen, I thought last year should have been an all-star. I mean, I thought he had that high of a caliber of a season. So Kobe stuck to his gun, saying, I think we have this roster. Were there conversations? Maybe there were, as far as other GMs that were calling him, but I don't think Kobe was being the proactive one to say, I'm looking to shop anybody. But I think other GMs were hung up on pretty quickly from Kobe Altman. So it was the roster that they truly felt was at a championship level. And I'm sure it was a very difficult decision as far as JB was concerned. Listen, I'll never have a negative word to say about JB Bickerstaff. Yes. From where this team was and where the franchise was when he took over to where it was when he left in May of last year. I mean, it's incredible. What a market improvement to take that team from 19 wins to an Eastern Conference semifinal. And as I said, battle Boston toe-to-toe without Jared and without Donovan for the most part. Donovan was hobbling around on one leg. So, but they just needed a different vision. And I think they wrestled with that and finally settled on Kenny Atkinson. But I guess in a long-winded way to answer your question, Chad, no, I never got the sense, this guy's going, this guy's getting traded. They're gonna move pieces around. It was huge to re-sign Donovan. They knew that. But I think they were comfortable in the fact that was going to happen. And then once that happened, all the other pieces fell into place.
Well, I think Tim, we talked a lot about Donovan because Donovan's the main piece, right? But when it comes to kind of what Chad was saying about the philosophy of Kobe Altman and the front office for the Cavaliers, to me, the move that they made that signified exactly what you said, that they believe in this roster. It didn't have anything to do with the core four. To me, the move that they made that really showed you and demonstrated what you're talking about, Tim, is when they extended Isaac Okoro.
Yes.
When they extended Okoro, because he's the guy, I think, the national media said Donovan Mitchell's not going to re-sign in Cleveland. And that's what everybody said is Donovan Mitchell's why he wants to go to New York. He wants to go here. And Donovan said, I've never once said that, right? The national thing was that. But I think locally, more people were looking at Isaac Okoro as a guy that could have been a trade piece. That could have been, there were so many rumors floated around about Isaac Okoro all off season. And when it came down, I got to tell you, when it came down, when I got the little notification on my phone that said the Cavaliers have extended Isaac Okoro, I went, okay, this is them telling you what they have done is what they believe in. Now, is it going to work out in the end? We will find out. But I think that was the move that really signified that.
By the way, a little piece of trivia there. Do you know that was the last Wojo bomb? For all the hundreds of Wojo bombs? Yeah. The Isaac Okoro signing, and then he said, I'm off to St. Bonaventure. But to your point, yes, Isaac Okoro is a key component to this. And I think to further reinforce that, Mike, is the fact that he's been in the starting lineup in the absence of Max Strus. Dean Wade was for a few games. He got sick. Kenny said, I'm going to put Isaac in there, and he is clicking with these other four guys. That offensive game is really developing. He's knocking down three balls. He's an elite defender. He has been since the day they drafted him out of Auburn. So, no, that was a key piece. They wanted Isaac Okoro here. Again, they believe in Isaac Okoro, and I think they look at Kenny Atkinson, and not to go full hog into his whole resume and what he's done in the past, but Kenny is known, number one, as an innovator. Number two, a communicator. I mean, he is really passionate about interacting with players. But number three, player development. And you go back to his time in Brooklyn, where he took what was a young basketball team with the likes of Karis LeVert, with the likes of Jared Allen, and developed those guys. And so I think they look at Isaac Okoro as another young player that Kenny Atkinson can really have a positive impact on. So it was critical to keep Isaac Okoro here. Absolutely. Didn't generate nearly the media or the publicity that the Donovan Mitchell and the Evan and Jared did, but very important.
Tim, I do want to go back into like the overarching themes of the season for a minute, but I do feel like I'm being unfair to one player on this team. Because I said,
I think I know what you're going to say.
I said, I think they ran it back. And the only player that they added was Jalen Tyson, and that's true roster-wise. And we haven't seen much of Jalen Tyson. Frankly, hopefully we don't really see much of Jalen Tyson other than in garbage time of games you're winning by a lot. But there is a guy that was on this team last year technically, but he technically didn't play a whole heck of a lot. And I think this dude needs the recognition on shows like ours, and he needs to get more recognition on the bigger shows and the national shows and all that, because one of the most important pieces to this Cavaliers run to start the year has been this dude who comes off the bench as the backup point guard. And he's like the heartbeat of the team in Ty Jerome. I don't think anybody truly knew, maybe the guys in the building, I don't want to say that, but I don't think any of us truly knew what kind of guy and what kind of player Ty Jerome was, man. Is what he doing surprising to anybody, or is this kind of what we thought Ty Jerome could be in this role as the backup point guard?
Oh, hell yeah, it's surprising.
Yes.
I mean, he played a game and a half last year. He literally played a game and a half, hurt that ankle, and you thought, 2-3 weeks. And then that went by, and you thought, well, maybe another 2 to 3 weeks. And all of a sudden, he literally misses 80 games, and nobody was more frustrated by that than Ty Jerome. And I know I've been pumping him up during the broadcast because what he has done for this Cavalier team off the bench is immeasurable. He's averaging double digits in scoring. Last night in Chicago, he was a plus 21 as far as plus minus was concerned, the highest of anybody that played. He makes assists. He's got an incredible basketball IQ, sees the floor. He's the son of a coach. So I think a lot of that plays into it. He's been around the game since he's a little guy. But Ty Jerome has been spectacular coming off that Cavalier bench. And I don't know if they'd be 5-7 without Ty Jerome, but they wouldn't be 12-0 without Ty Jerome. He has been just fantastic. And to your point, Mike, he in essence is an addition to the roster. I mean, a guy played, like I said, a game and a half last year. So when you say, well, the Cavs didn't make any moves, no, technically they didn't. But you bring a guy like this in for this season and say, yeah, that's a nice addition to the roster. He certainly has been, because I don't know, 12 games in, if you can start talking about sixth man of the year, but Ty Jerome would be in that conversation early on, wouldn't he?
100%. Without question. Go ahead, Chad.
Tim, now getting into the overarching themes of the season, the first one I want to bring up, and this goes all the way back to the LeBron years. So this is something that was just really stands out to me. Tim, we're winning third quarters. This is amazing. We're having good third quarters. I don't know what it is, but I mean, I don't know if Kenny just goes into halftime and says, fix it, like he did at the halftime of I forget what game it was, but yeah, we're winning third quarters, Tim.
I'm trying to remember what game that was too, but he walked into the locker room. Oh, it was the Knicks game. It was the Knicks game.
That's it. That's the one.
He showed them about a 30-second video clip of the Knicks grabbing 3 or 4 offensive rebounds and said, that's up to you guys. Turned around and walked out.
Oh,
So right, he got his message across, and that's Kenny Atkinson. He's a motivator. He's passionate. But he can also be very short and succinct. I mean, you guys know what to do. And then they came out, to your point, Chad, in that third quarter, dominated the boards and literally just turned the tables on the Knicks. So, like I said, I love Kenny for the fact that he's not just stuck in a rut as far as this is what I'm going to do. This is my system. I'm going to try this lineup. I'm going to try that lineup. I know last week there was a game. He had the 2 bigs out there, and Jared and Evan took a timeout. Jim Jones and I are watching. They come out on the floor. Both the bigs are gone. And he went to a small lineup. And then after the ball game, he was asked why he did that. He goes, 2 bigs weren't working. It wasn't a good matchup for us. Right. So I got to change things. And I talked about that last night in Chicago. Come out of a timeout in the third quarter. He's got 5 reserves on the floor. So he's constantly just analyzing the game, and he doesn't get stuck in this is what we do, this is how we're going to do it, and if it's not working, we're just going to figure out a way to plow through it. No, we're going to change things up. I'll try something different. If it works, great. If it doesn't, okay, we'll move on to the next game. So, and I think a lot of that is that Steve Kerr influence, where he's been with Steve the last 3 years to say, you know what, it's one game, let's try something different here, let's try something that maybe the other team hasn't seen. If it works, great. Well, as he said, we'll throw it against the wall and see what happens.
And you kind of transitioned into this because there's been a lot of praise for the Cavaliers to start this season, and obviously this 12-0 run and all of that. But I don't know that there is higher praise than what they received last weekend after that Golden State Warriors game, when Draymond Green, and I know he's one of the least popular athletes in all of Cleveland, but Draymond Green comes out after that game and he goes, that team just did to us what we've been doing to teams for years. And that was his quote. And that, I think when we talked about the Kenny influence and the way this team could come out and play a different brand of basketball, to have a guy like Draymond Green, who is a multi-time NBA champion, and who was part of that Golden State team, which, whether you like it or not, a lot of what Kenny Atkinson's doing is modeled off of what they did in Golden State. To hear that praise from Draymond Green, man, that was a thing to hear.
Yeah, well, and the exact quote was, they sliced and diced us with what we have done. Drive, kick, swing, drive, kick, swing. I've seen that at more practices than I can care to count. But but as you said, and you make a great point, Mike, the fact that Cleveland fans don't like Draymond Green. And believe me, you see a lot of his antics. Don't ever question his basketball IQ. He's an incredibly intelligent player. And so when he recognizes what the Cavs are doing, and to your point, it's a lot of what Golden State did. Kenny Atkinson kind of absorbed that from the Golden State system and from Steve Kerr. When you're up 41 on Golden State at the half. And this isn't a hapless Golden State team that all of a sudden is
coming into that game
falling off the shelf. Right. I think they were 7-1 coming into that ball game.
Yes.
Top 5 offensively, top 5 defensively, and the Cavs shredded them. And so, yes, I think that was the win, I think, that opened a lot of people's eyes, because it was Golden State and it was such a massive margin of victory. But the other interesting thing, guys, is that they've won in so many different ways this year. You can look at 12 wins and go, they won 4 by doing this. They won 3 or 4 by doing that. Oh, that win, well, they did this. So they're winning in different ways. And I think, to me, that makes it all the more impressive.
I think it's also, in their 12-game winning streak, nobody has led the team in scoring 2 times in a row. That has not happened once this year. I think that's awesome. That just means you're getting everybody everybody's pitching in it. And I think if you were to ask me the way I feel about what Kenny Atkinson is doing and the kind of overall theme of this season, the word that I would use, Tim, is empowerment. And here's what I mean by that. It doesn't have to be Donovan Mitchell doing things. You see, when Evan Mobley has the ball in his hands, you can tell they are telling him, you are better than you think you are. Go do the things that you can do. When Darius Garland has the ball in his hand, and really, I think where you really see the empowerment, Tim, is these guys off the bench. Their bench has been phenomenal this year. Routinely, they are outscoring, out rebounding, out everything the other team's second units. And we've already talked about Ty Jerome, but Sam Merrill, one of the first guys off the bench this year. That is awesome to see. And he's playing good defensively, offensively, and everywhere in between. George Niang has bounced back and looks better this year. Karis LeVert playing well off the bench this year. But they seem to play with this freedom to just go out there and play the way they want to. And they can take open shots, and they can drive and kick and pass. And it just feels like they are all empowered to play this brand of basketball. Nobody's hesitating. It's just get out there and play. And I think that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, Mike, that's a great point. And it's a great term to use, empowered, because he has done that, not only with the starters, but as you said, with the bench. You mentioned Evan Mobley, and I was fortunate enough to go down to IMG in Sarasota for training camp. And from day one, he was pushing Evan Mobley to be in attack mode every possession. He didn't just want him floating on the wing. If Evan had the ball in his hands, he wanted him to go to the rim or look for a shot. And that was part of the reason Kenny was brought here, to kind of unlock Evan Mobley. And that started from day one down in Sarasota. You mentioned the bench. It's interesting, when Golden State was in town last weekend, I had a conversation with their great radio play-by-play guy, Tim Roy. And Tim was talking about Steve Kerr's philosophy with the bench, that everybody knows their role. Everybody literally knows the minute they're going to go into a game. And he's very open and honest with guys. And even if the bench player isn't going to play in a game for a matchup or whatever, he'll go to him in the locker room and just say, hey, tonight's not a matchup for you. So don't take it personally. You're probably not going to see some time. But he's very open and he's very forthright. And Kenny has been that way with our bench guys. To your point, LeVert, Jerome, Merrill, George Niang, they know when they're going in the game. They know what their role will be. It's not like a yo-yo where it's 10 minutes one night, it's 2 minutes the next night,
Yes.
It's 19 minutes the next night.
Yes.
It has been consistent, and the guys now know what their role is and what is expected of them. And again, to use your term, Mike, it's a great term. He's empowered them with that role to say, here are the expectations. If you do the job, it's going to stay the same.
Yeah. And you talked about minutes there, Tim. And I think one of the other impressive things about this season are the minutes you're seeing these guys playing, because these guys aren't playing big, huge minutes. Evan Mobley and Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland and Jared Allen, they're not out there 38, 40 minutes a game. I don't know if it's changed. I haven't looked. This is bad on me. This is my bad for not looking this up before the show. For at least a good while there, nobody on the team was averaging more than 30 points or 30 minutes a game. I don't know if
you want me to look at my feet right here. I can look at my sheet right here. So Donovan's at 30.7, and he's the only one.
That's it. And that just changed.
Right. But to your point, and the other thing that Kenny realizes when you've been around championship teams and championship level teams the past few years with the Warriors and with the Clippers, I know it's a cliche, but this is a marathon. You can't play guys 30, to your point, 35, 38 minutes a game when you're in October, November, December. You're not going to have anything left. There's no gas in the tank when you get to April and May. And so I think Kenny realizes that, and he realizes you have to have a deep bench because, number one, the style you want to play, which is up-tempo, increased pace, get that ball up and down the floor. But number two, you've got to save bodies. You've got to have guys that are still fresh and healthy after 82 games when hopefully you're playing another 20 to 25 games.
All right, Tim, a couple quick things before we let you get back to your night there in Philly. Get rest before a big Cavs game tomorrow. And again, a couple question marks on that lineup tomorrow. So we'll see if anybody's going to miss any time tomorrow. But one, I got to go back to Max Strus for a minute because that dude, it was an up and down year for Max Strus last year, like it was for several Cavaliers players. But Max Strus has got to be just chomping at the bit to get into this system because this system feels like it's made for Max Strus. Like this feels like it is. Hit, run and gun, pull up, shoot, do your thing. And this guy, like, I don't know if you've talked to him at all, but he's got to be chomping at the bit to get back and get playing with this team, right?
Oh, he's the ultimate competitor. I mean, anybody that's been around Max Strus for 5 minutes, you realize, he'll beat you up over a game of checkers. I mean, he wants to get out there and he wants to compete and he wants to play. And to your point, this system is something that he's going to gravitate to and he's going to grab onto. So, yeah, I'm sure he's very anxious to get back. I thought it was interesting. Again, Kenny's very open. He's very honest. He was asked at a press conference last week about Max's status and said he's on a proper timetable, still a couple of more weeks, et cetera. And he said he was asked, will he immediately go back in the starting lineup? And Kenny was non-committal. Listen, at that point, they may have been 9-0 or 10-0, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Now, Max Strus will be a critical part of this basketball team. There's no doubt about that. But again, Kenny he didn't dodge the question. He just said, well, we're going to see about that when it happens. They look forward to getting Max back, but he's very forthright. And I'm sure he's been that way with Max throughout his rehab, just to have those conversations.
Just a quick question about the moment, because I think there's been some fun moments to this season already. We're only 12 games in, but some fun moments. But we got to go back to that Lakers game for a minute. That was pretty cool down there. Talking about Bronny James and the fans, the building. I was watching it on TV. It felt like it was loud. The fans were chanting for Bronny James. The dude comes in and gets his first bucket as an NBA player. That was some storybook stuff right there. That had to have felt special just to be a part of that.
It was. And again, to me, and Mike, you just alluded to it, was the reaction of the Cleveland fans.
Yes.
To say, well, number one, they had the game in hand, but to really roar, knowing the connection with LeBron and with Bronny to Cleveland. And here was a young kid at the time that was growing up at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse with his dad. And the chants, as you said, if it sounded that way on television, I can tell you it was reverberating throughout the arena. And then the roar that went up when Bronny came into the game. And to me, the coolest part of the whole thing was that he hit that shot right in front of his dad, right in front of the Laker bench. It was a baseline jumper. Literally, his dad was sitting right behind him. And I think I said that on the air. To me, that was the coolest moment. Like, he wasn't at the other end of the floor. It wasn't some desperation shot as the shot clock was winding down. It was a measured jumper right in front of his dad, the Laker bench right behind him. But it was very, very special. It was pretty cool. And I tip my cap to Cleveland fans. I mean, again, I'm biased, but I think Cleveland has the greatest sports fans in the country. And for them to show their respect and their appreciation to LeBron and Bronny in that moment, I thought was special for Cleveland sports.
Tim, you gonna go find yourself a cheesesteak tomorrow, or?
I'm going to try. Man, come on, man. When you're in Philly, you got to do the Philly thing.
Yeah.
I won't be rude to people like Philly is, but I'll get a cheesesteak.
Yeah.
I won't boo Santa Claus if I see him.
I was going to ask you about the other LA team. When's your first trip out to the new arena in Clipperland?
I am looking forward to that. There's a little chat group that we have amongst the NBA play-by-play guys, and so the ones who have been there so far have just raved about it. They said it's absolutely incredible. So kind of rolling it in my head. I think we go there towards the end of the year. I don't have the schedule memorized, but that's going to be something very, very special. I've heard it's absolutely incredible.
I want a full report on the bathroom situation. That's all I've heard about the stupid place is 10,000 toilets or something like that. That's all I've heard about this place.
Okay, well, there we go. That's my next invite on Garage Beers.
Bathroom updates with Tim Alcorn.
Check out the Cavs schedule, and soon after the Clipper visit, Tim will be back on to talk about Intuit Arena and the 10,000 bathrooms.
Yeah. First, yeah, I could just see the design meeting. Like, guys, no lines. Okay. no lines at halftime.
Well, we all know where our priorities lie, don't we?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
It's good for beer sales. It's good for beer sales when you know you don't have to wait in line when you get to the bathroom.
Hey, good for you for commercial breaks too, right?
That's right.
I'm a guy, once I sit down, I'm there for the whole game. I'm in. So,
all right, Tim, we're going to let you go, man. You're out there in Philly. You're going to get some rest, and then the Cavs are going to look to make it a baker's dozen tomorrow to start the season in Philadelphia, where I noticed today, by the way, Tim, I'm sorry, I was going to let you go, but then I noticed today, I forgot about this. The in-season tournament started today, and the courts are back. The courts are back.
Yeah.
With a vengeance. They're back with a vengeance.
Hey, the Hawks beat the Celtics. In case anyone you need an update.
Did they really?
Yeah, Hawks beat
I've
the
been out
Celtics.
with you guys, so I haven't been monitoring the scores. Really,
it's impossible to watch on the greenest court you've ever seen in your life.
Wow. Well, Philly, we're catching Philly on a back-to-back because they're playing the Knicks tonight at home. And I can look up at the television right now. The Knicks are up by 11 in the fourth. So at least we're catching Philly on a back-to-back. So, wow, Atlanta beat Boston. That's pretty interesting.
Well, hopefully they can switch the court around to the normal Philadelphia court, and you don't have to watch the abomination that happens with those courts.
Your lips to Philly executives' ears, I guess.
Yeah, that's right. All right, Tim, go get some rest. We appreciate you hanging out with us tonight, and we'll do a full-on bathroom report after you guys go to LA to play the Clippers. All right.
Man, I love being out with you guys. Brings back so many memories and a lot of great laughs. And hey, really enjoy Highland and Anthony Wayne. I'll be checking that on my Twitter on Friday night while I'm calling the Cavs and the Bulls in our first in-season tournament game for the Cavs. But you guys are terrific. Love being out with you.
We got one last thing. We had a question in the comments. Avon or Wadsworth Friday night, Tim?
I'm an Eagle guy.
He's an Eagle guy.
What Mike Elder does is just absolutely phenomenal. And one of these years, they're going to bust that door down. I'll go with Avon.
All right, Tim, hit the road. We appreciate you, man, and we look forward to another great call of yours tomorrow as the Cavaliers go for 13 in a row to start the season. We appreciate your input on everything, and we love having you as a friend here on the Garage Beers podcast. We'll talk to you soon.
You guys are great friends as well. Thanks.
That's Tim Alcorn, the radio voice of the Cleveland Cavaliers. And again, a guy we go way back with, all the way back to Lake Erie Crushers days. Yeah. And that has been such a big part of high school broadcasting in Lorain, Medina, Cuyahoga, all that with WEOL for such a long time behind that. And
he's just having another heart attack. That makes a baker's dozen.
I thought about that in my head when I said it. I was going to say it that way, a baker's dozen.
Yeah.
That makes it a Baker's. He'll be fine. That makes it a Baker's.
He'll be fine.
The Bears.
Yeah.
All right. Big shout out to Tim Alcorn. Go follow him online at Cavs Alcorn. And again, do what he said. Do what he told Joe. If you maybe like to listen to the games, maybe you're like some of the guys in the comments here tonight. because you guys you're doing like Gregory's out here doing like wiring and stuff like that. If you like to listen to the games, $10. Do the audio NBA League Pass, and you can listen to Tim Alcorn call all the games for the Cavaliers for this unbelievable Cavalier season. Joe, did you sign up for it while we were on with Tim?
I did not, but I will.
There you go, buddy. All right, boys. Well, listen, we've got other stuff we want to get to. We got the Browns coming up. We got some other topics that we want to hit on, but because we didn't want to be rude to our special guest, and he did not have a beer there in Philly.
Yeah, so I don't like doing it when they don't have a beer.
Well, I wasn't going to do a garage beers and just make him. I didn't want to make him just sit there and watch us talk about our delicious beers when he didn't have one. So now we will do our garage beers of the week, and we'll send it around the horn. So
you guys go first. I want to go last on this one.
All right, I'll go first. Actually, Joe, you go first. Are you back? Are we back? Are you back? I don't know what that is. Oh, it's a cork. It's a corkscrew.
Ooh, presentation.
Hold on, this is so good for the audio.
Let's go with the wine.
Are you drinking a garage wine?
Drinking a garage wine, boys. You can go, Mike. I got to open this still.
That's going to take a minute for you to open.
I was a little sad when we didn't do the garage beers earlier because I wanted to drink.
Little showmanship. That's awesome.
All right. I'll start. Boys, I am, as you can see in my lovely hotel room here, I am in Sault Ste. Marie, up in the northernest of northern parts of Michigan. I am at the upper part of the Upper Peninsula. I am way the hell up here. It is winter up here, by the way, in case you didn't know that. But after I worked today, one of my coworkers and I got in the car, drove across the bridge, drove across the locks where the Lake Superior meets Lake Huron, and we drove into Canada, and we found a couple breweries in Sault Ste. Marie, Canada, and I grabbed a couple of beers. And listen, it's still pumpkin time. It's still pumpkin season. And so what did I grab? Well, from Northern Superior Brewing Company in Sault Ste. Marie, Canada, Ontario, I grabbed the Pumpkin Point, which is like their pumpkin ale, their version of the pumpkin ale. And I will tell you, if you ever, for some unknown reason, find yourself in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, Canada, it's a great little brewery. It was really cool. It's kind of like tucked back in like kind of a warehouse almost. And the beers were great. The people were great. And this is a delightful little Canadian pumpkin beer from, again, Northern Superior Brewing Company in Sault Ste. Marie, Canada. So that's mine. That's mine. And they let me back into the country. We got back in. So that was great.
Have you ever seen the show To Catch a Smuggler?
Nope.
It's like Nat Geo. And they follow like Border Patrol and like Homeland Security investigators for like drug smuggling and stuff. I was watching it a while ago, and there's an episode of somebody in Detroit. What's the bridge that goes over to Canada?
The Ambassador Bridge, I think.
The Ambassador Bridge. They took a wrong turn, went to the Ambassador Bridge, and then turned around and came back, and they got inspected, and they had weed in their car.
Oh.
And they got detained, and they're like, but it's literally legal on both sides of the border. Like, what were you talking about? And it's because it's not, federally legal.
Dude.
But very funny.
I have no reason to ever like be anxious at those. Like I've never done anything. And I'm not smuggling any. I always get like a little anxious at those, especially when you come back into the US, they're kind of dicks. Right? I think on purpose, they're kind of dicks. So today I'm with my coworker and he's driving. And we get over and the guy's asking us like, where are you from? Where do you live? Why are you up here? Blah, blah, blah. And he's doing the normal questions. And then he goes, why were you guys in Canada? And my coworker goes, we came over to drink a bunch of beers and have dinner. And I was like,
yeah. Nice.
What? And the guy's like, sounds like a good time. See you later, guys. And I was like,
okay.
Oh, all right. I was like, dude.
And they're
I
always
guess they're not going to give you a DUI there, right?
I don't know. I don't know that he doesn't just call like a cop. Listen, I'm not driving, but I don't know that he doesn't call like a police officer right there, like, hey, this idiot just said this, so you might want to check him out.
Yeah.
I
and
looked
it's always
at him
some jack dude named Hawk.
Hawk.
Who's like,
yeah, Jay Steele.
Yeah, we were just over there drinking a bunch of beers, and then we drove back. Maybe don't. I don't know. I always feel like I should just say the least amount of anything at those checkpoints.
Yeah.
Don't even talk. I was eating and then I came back. That's it.
I had an incident like that too. We went, this is way back, in early 20s, went to Windsor for my buddy's bachelor party. And the next day we're coming back through customs and my buddy Josh, we're all hungover and maybe even still a little drunk. And obviously, in bachelor parties, you do bachelor party things. We did go to a gentleman's club that night. And on the way back through the border, the guy was, asking, what are you guys doing in Canada? And my buddy Josh just yelling over everybody. He goes, "We saw titties." And then we go, okay. All right. And then the guy just laughed his ass off and just goes through. I was like, oh my God, what's going to happen? But he just let us through.
Oh my Lord. Yeah. Well, that was I had a border adventure today. So anyways, that's my beer. Joe, what's the wine? What's the wine of tonight?
All right. Costco's got a 4-pack of Bordeaux in a wooden box that you have to pry open with your hands, which is sick. All the wines kind of like blow. The first two we had, one okay one like really bad one. I don't know how to say this. Baron de Vignognet. I don't know. It's French. It's from Bordeaux. It means it's probably like Merlot. Like, doesn't really say.
Again, if you guys have been paying attention, Joe has not had a single alcoholic beverage on this show for like 2 months.
Yeah, every 2 months.
So we're back. We're back, baby. We're back.
I did go get a pitcher of Margs on Saturday with my wife and just got absolutely hammered from them. Turns out your tolerance can go away pretty quick. So noted.
We are back.
We're back.
All right. So I got Canadian beer. Joe's got wine. Chad, what are you drinking tonight?
Gentlemen, I don't normally do this because you know how much of a seasonal guy I am. To me right now, it's still pumpkin and Oktoberfest season. But I came across a holiday beer that I just could not pass up. And I'm telling you right now, can art wise, this is one of it's a guaranteed top 10 can art that we've ever had. Okay, guys, are you fans of Home Alone?
Of course.
Yeah. Well, this is Gus Polinski and the Kenosha Kickers.
No way.
Polka, polka, polka.
Yeah.
Sick.
It says this. It says this beer pairs well with Polka Twist and Polka, polka, polka.
Oh.
It's from 903 Brewers in Sherman, Texas. And yeah, it's the Polka King of the Midwest. It's a cinnamon and spice ale. It's so good.
Polka, polka, polka.
The Polka Twist. Yeah. So yeah, Gus Polinski. Check that out. Whee!
Oh, it's great. Shout out John Candy too. Another one of those gone way too soon, guys. Man, I love
for sure.
John Candy is one of my all-time favorites. Gone. So that's a great one. We've got friends drinking with us tonight. Miller Lite for Gregory H tonight as he, wires a house. Chef Brian K, PBR and more PBR and more PBR and more PBR. So shout out to Chef Brian K. If you're drinking, let us know. But now, boys, let's move on to our last few topics. As again, this show always flies by so fast. We only have a little over a half hour left of the show, but let's jump into the NFL and let's start with the Cleveland Browns. And we'll just spend a little time because the Browns have had a little time to gather themselves after the real difficult situation that occurred the last time we saw them, where they got absolutely trounced by the LA Chargers in a game where the Chargers defensively dominated the Cleveland Browns. And I do think it's fair to give them a lot of credit for that game. The Chargers really came at the Browns in such a dominant fashion. Offensively, the Browns couldn't do anything. Defensively, the Browns continued to go into soft zone coverage where they failed to communicate with each other and give up big, long throws for touchdowns. But they've had the bye week. And now the Cleveland Browns are going to New Orleans to take on the New Orleans Saints this weekend in New Orleans. Guys, what's the preference? What do we need to see? What are we looking for out of the Browns? Like at this point, they're 2-7. You're not going to make the playoffs. I know a lot of people are going to want them to lose games, but that's not really what I'm asking about. I don't care whether you want them to lose or win at this point, because yeah, sure, it would be fine if they lost a few more games and got a better draft pick. I don't really care though. That doesn't matter to me. This whole talk on like, should they tank? Should they do this? Should they? None of that matters.
They're already tanking
for a team. No, they're not. For a team that is supposed to have expectations, for a team that was supposed to do bigger things this year, and for a team that has failed at just about everything they have done this year, what are we looking for the rest of this year? What are the metrics for success for the Cleveland Browns for the remainder of the 2024 season? Does anything fucking matter? I guess is the question I'm trying to ask you guys. Does any of this fucking shit matter?
We're looking for a glass of acid to throw in my eyeballs. I think that's first and foremost. Like, I don't want to watch this anymore. It's not fun. It's just the most uninspiring football ever.
What matters? I guess what matters? What matters here for the last several weeks? What does anything?
I would like to see Dustin Hopkins make more field goals.
Yes. Nick Chubb
that's 1-1
to form, like getting back to form.
Okay.
There's one thing that'd be nice to see.
Jed Wills taking any step forward.
No, he gone. Jed Wills better. Oh, can we take a pause? That's a great. I'm glad you brought that up, Joe. Can we take a pause on this topic?
Sure.
Jed Wills better not.
Benched.
Jed better not see the field again unless somebody's hurt.
Right.
If he sees the field again, a step forward.
Jed better not see the field again. We should never see Jed Wills play football in a Cleveland Browns uniform ever again.
Business decision.
Especially, listen, I know there's been some like arguments back and forth about what Jed said, which, by the way, if you missed it, he said he made a business decision before the Ravens game where he basically sat himself. That I know some of the Browns players. I know Rodney McLeod goes on with Carmen and Lime in the morning, and he kind of defended what Jed Wills said as like he came out and said, I wouldn't be able to do my job and I wouldn't be able to block because I don't feel right, whatever. It's not what he said. The dude came out and said he made a business decision and he sat himself on the bench. I think we all can read into what business decision means for a guy that's in a contract year that's trying to find a place to play next year. That dude, you can't come out and say bullshit like that in the media and ever play for this team again. Jed's got to go, and he's got to go the minute he can possibly be off this team. He needs to be off this team.
Take your lazy ass up to Canada, Jed, because I mean, making a business decision for what? Nobody's going to give you a paycheck. Nobody's going to give you a payday after the effort that you've put forth the last 2 years. No. What the hell? If anything, you should be playing through this injury to try to earn yourself another contract, whatever that is. I mean, it's obviously going to be a backup. It's no one's going to pay you to be a starter. Hell no.
Well, and you even saw it on X, and I think it was Jason Pinkston, former Browns offensive lineman, Jason Pinkston, who's by the way, a great follow on X, and he still very much follows the Cleveland Browns. But he called, I think he retweeted a Darryl Ryder tweet, and he was like, "Shut the fuck up," like about what Jed Wills said, and then Joe Thomas messaged him and was like, yeah, you never played hurt, right? Like maybe with a blood clot in your lung, because remember, Jason Pinkston played through a blood clot in his lung. And so it's got to say something. You've got the most legendary Cleveland Brown that's been here since 1999, and Joe Thomas going back and forth with a former player for the Browns, talking about this current situation and how they feel. Like Jed Wills is just like he's soft. They're basically calling him soft. They're calling the dude soft in public on Twitter.
That's tough.
The dude's got to go. He's got to go.
Yeah.
Gross.
I mean,
grotesque.
Bye. Yeah. No, it's people questioned his toughness last year, and I mean he's doubling down on it this year, and it's just he needs to go, and he needs to go now. Can we release him now? Is it possible?
I mean,
I'd rather have Jerron Christian back instead of Jed Wills playing behind this guy.
Yeah. So I'm glad you brought that up, Joe, because there's no more maybe about Jed Wills, by the way. No. There's no more like, well, if he does this and that, then maybe. Nope, he gone. He's gone. So that question has been answered. That's nice.
Right.
What
Easy
the hell
enough.
else are we looking for? We got Sean in the comments. Sean says he would like to see Corey Bojorquez have less punting yards than our offense. Because at this point in the NFL season, the Browns are the only team in the NFL whose punter has more punting yards than the offense does.
NFL plus Power 4 conferences in the
That's
NCAA.
correct.
Yeah. So it's a very short list to be on.
It's not great. It's not great.
I would like to see when JOK returns from the IR, assuming that he does. I would like to see him play better. Big regression year for him. I feel like he's been good.
I think JOK's been spectacular this year.
He's been in on plays, but he hasn't been as sure of a tackler this year as he was.
Yeah, exactly.
He's missed horrible tackles, but JOK's been good.
That's nitpicking.
Good.
I'd like to pick the nit. Just make some tackles, my guy.
He's made a lot of tackles. He's
Joe's picking a nit though.
He's made a lot. Joe, you're calling out JOK?
I just want to see more tackles, better tackles. He's blown a couple big plays.
Right. Yeah, he has. That's true. That's not false, but I think
it's just I don't want to see him regress massively because I think he's got more ceiling than he's got floor right now. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
I can make it. You can do better.
I don't think I'm jumping in on the. I don't think I can jump in and join you on the. Let's question JOK of all.
So you don't want to see him tackle better this year? Okay, that's fine.
Man, he's been good this year. He's been good this year. I'm not doing that. I think the first thing I'm going to look for, boys, is they've got to figure out a way to run the football. Like they got it, and it starts this week against a not very good New Orleans Saints team. Like you got to find a way to run the football.
Right.
I think I'm a little annoyed by the fact that we act like we're in this modern NFL, so that it's not as important to run the football, except for when one of your best players on your entire roster is your running back, except for when one of your biggest game-breaking, threatening players on your roster is your running back. And when that's the case, you've got to be able to figure out a way to get this guy moving downhill, getting him some yards. Now, I do think, again, he didn't play the first, he wasn't in training camp. He didn't play the first several weeks. So it's going to be a slow turnaround. But I think coming out of the bye week, they've got to figure out a way to get Nick Chubb moving. They got to figure that out. He can't be running for 2 yards a carry.
Yeah, I mean, it might not be as important to run the football, but like it is important to run the football. It's just important in today's day and age to use multiple guys. But one of the best players, like you said, one of the best players on your team is a running back. It is your running back, and he needs to get reps in. He needs to get he needs to get out there. He needs to be used more. He needs to get used to live game action. Get him going.
It's important for Nick Chubb to have the ball in his hands. I think maybe I'll say it that way better. I don't care whether it's in the screen game. I don't care whether it's in the short passing game. I don't care whether you do what they used to do with Nick Chubb and send him out wide and let him play as kind of a receiver out there. But it's really important to get the ball in Nick Chubb's hands and let that dude be the playmaker that he is. I think that's important. I just don't know.
I'm not sure we have a screen game in Dorsey's system, but that's another.
That's a fair point. I think the guys to watch at the end of this season where it's not going to matter because these games don't matter anymore for the Cleveland Browns because they could go undefeated at this point and you still might not make the playoffs with 7 losses. 10-7 may not get you in, and they're not going to go undefeated, by the way. But I think we're just watching the guys, right? Greg Newsome's got to show something. He's important. He's an important player that has to show something. You want to see the continued progression and development of Ced Tillman because all of a sudden Cedric Tillman's been your best wide receiver. He's been your best wide receiver. He's looked like the guy that you thought he might be able to be when you drafted him in the 3rd round a couple of years ago or last year. But I guess I just don't know. There's a little hopeless feeling in my gut. There's a little hopeless feeling in my gut that I don't know where this Browns team can possibly go. And I don't mean this year, obviously, because they're not going anywhere, but I don't know where this team can go with the situation that they're in, with the cap situation that they're in, the fact that you can push off Deshaun Watson's contract as long as you want, but eventually you're going to have to pay this dude this money, and it's going to be a cap hit. Like, eventually you're going to take the cap hit. I just don't know where the light is at the end of the tunnel. And again, I think next year they've got enough dudes on this roster. You could come out with Jameis Winston as your starting quarterback next year. And I think you could be a playoff team next year with the way this roster is organized. But, like, I'm just nervous that this year is breaking a lot of backs.
Let's say you find a team like the Carolina Panthers. I saw this online this week. And let's say they have like a lot of cap space. And you trade them to Sean.
No.
Plus first round pick.
Every first round pick you have from now until 2,700.
Is that the cost?
To trade Deshaun Watson? Why would they take him?
Yeah.
I get a couple first round picks out of it.
Why would they take him?
Or they're not paying
anybody.
There's
I'm going to save everybody. There's no way out.
How do we get out of it?
There's no way out. Listen, we're just going to have to eat a dick here for the next 2 years with his contract and just pay him. Stop pushing it off. Stop pushing it off and just pay him for the next 2 years, right? Because there's 2 years and $70 billion left per year on this contract. Just pay it off. I am fully prepared to suck for the next 2 years because of this. Or we make Jameis our starter, and he's the most expensive backup in the league for the next 2 years. I am totally fine with that.
100% fine with that.
100%. Yeah, but we just need to get through these next 2 years of his contract because we need to be rid of this as fast as possible. And I think that's really the only way is just to, like I said, eat a bag of dicks on this one and just go through it. That's the only way. The only way out is through, and this is the only way.
Well, I will say this. There is a little bit of hope, and we'll see how creative they could be, and we'll see how forceful they can be. Because, again, an Achilles injury is supposed to keep you out for a long time. And I know we all saw what Aaron Rodgers did. And actually, I think it's really impressive. I hate Aaron Rodgers, but it's impressive what he did. Mm-hmm. But it'll be really interesting to see because they do have insurance on Deshaun Watson. They have injury insurance on this dude. And if they can keep him out for a long period of time, like, I don't know, next year, they recoup the money. And so it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest to see them figure out a way to say, oh, Deshaun's injury is, team doctors say he is not ready all year next year, like all year. Just recoup that money, pay him the last year and get him the hell out. Like he can never play here again. He can never play here again.
No, he can't.
I'm in for that. Whatever we got to do, that's just what I'm prepared. In my mind, it's just 2 years and then we're completely done with this fiasco. That's it. Whatever they got to do the next 2 years to just bypass this thing and then get it over with.
So let's talk about this game real quick. Browns Saints coming up this weekend. The Browns coming off the bye week. The Saints coming off a big victory.
Big victory.
They've got they fired their coach. They've got Rizzi, their new coach, that is going to be their interim guy who the players apparently love. Derek Carr and Alvin Kamara and like a real bad group of wide receivers and like not a very good defense except for last week when they played really well when they beat the Atlanta Falcons, even though Young Hui Koo missed like 77 field goals in that game. But Falcons or the Saints coming off a win, they're flying high right now. They're playing impassioned football for this interim head coach. So guys, what do we think? What do we think about this Browns Saints game coming up in New Orleans?
This is a winnable football game for the Browns. I mean, obviously they're flying high, but this is not a very good Saints defense. So I mean, I think if this was, I mean, I don't want to call it like a get right game for the offense. I think this is it, especially now that they've traded away Marshawn Lattimore. I don't know who's going to cover, Jerry Jeudy, Elijah Moore, and Njoku, all the weapons that the Browns offense has. So yeah, this offense has a real chance to get right in this game. Alvin Kamara is going to do his thing. He's having a really great year. But I beyond that, I don't know what about the Saints offense that scares me. So yeah, I think this is a really winnable football game for the Browns.
Yeah, I agree. You're running out of winnable games on your schedule. I think, Alvin Kamara is definitely probably the biggest threat for this week. Also, based off of the Chargers games and like the Washington game, and I think there's one other one of just like the complete miscommunication of coverages. Hopefully that's something they ironed out in the bye week, but like Derek Carr is not a great quarterback, but he can exploit that. And I would be worried about that. So hopefully they've taken some time to kind of sort that out over the bye week and figure out, hey, somebody should cover that guy. That would be great. But it's a winnable game for the Browns. So
how about this being the sorting out for that in the bye week? Stop playing Joe Woods soft zone coverages and let Denzel Ward, Martin Emerson, and Greg Newsome just play man. Like, what are we doing here? Like, what are we doing here? Hopefully they figure that shit out, because that seems to be a pretty easy.
Our man coverage has been great this year.
Seems to be a pretty easy answer to that question. So yeah, listen, boys, I think the same thing. I do think it goes back to Nick Chubb a little bit. You got to figure out a way to get Nick. This is not a good run defense with the New Orleans Saints. It's not somebody you're not afraid of them blowing up the run game. So the offensive line has to be decent. You got to get Nick Chubb going a little bit. And you can't put even if you like Jameis Winston, again, I know he played a bad game a couple weeks ago, but that's a Chargers defense that's doing that to everybody. They're doing it to everybody. That defensive backfield, we didn't give nearly enough credit going into that game to how good that defensive backfield is. But still, even if you like Jameis, if you're putting your hopes for a victory just squarely on his shoulders, that's tough. That's tough right now. You got to get Nick Chubb going and make it so that Jameis can use the play action effectively, because you're running the ball well enough that the team has to respect when you do that. And he's got to find some guys down the field. I do think the Browns are just so far superior talent-wise to this version of the New Orleans Saints football team, right? The wide receiver you have to worry about in this game is Marquez Valdez-Scantling. That's where the Saints are as far as like wide receivers. They're so far superior that the Browns, it would damn near be shameful for the Cleveland Browns to lose this game to the New Orleans Saints. I know what they did last week, and I know they beat Kirk Cousins, and I know they beat the Falcons, but it would be shameful. It would be shameful for the Cleveland Browns to lose this week to the New Orleans Saints. And you got to remember, Jameis, I don't think he has any hard feelings against the Saints, but Jameis was a Saint. So he's going to want to go out there and put on a show in New Orleans for sure. They got to go out and win.
Yeah.
They got to.
They also had to go out and beat the Giants. They also had to go out and beat the
Yeah, well, Deshaun Watson played in those games, and he's a bitch. And that's why they lost.
Yeah.
So he's not playing this week. They shouldn't lose this game.
We'll see.
Did Joe just disappear?
Yeah, Joe, I don't know.
He
looked like he was doing one of those TikTok videos. There we go. Oh, after you moved your hand away, I expect you to have like a different outfit on or something.
Oh, maybe.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right.
Listen, Deshaun Watson's not playing. I'm giving the Browns a win. So let's do real quick predictions, and then let's do some quick hitters before we get out of here. Go ahead, Joe. Prediction.
I don't know, dude. It hurts, man. It hurts.
I'm tired of this.
I'm so tired of this shit. I don't want to do it anymore, Grandpa.
It sucks.
I don't know. Give me like 32 to like 23 Browns. Like super weird.
Yeah.
Chad?
28-23 Browns.
Ooh.
All right. I like the 23s.
They have to win this game. They have to win this game. I'm gonna go 24-11. 24-11. The Browns are the Saints are going to score 11 points in this game, and the Browns are going to beat them 24-11 because I just defensively they've got to take care of
3 field goals
give
and a
me
safety.
3-1 and bring in Class A.
Yeah, right.
Or 3-2. Give me 3-2. 3-1's
Give me a John Kenzie Noel home run at the end.
Right.
Yeah. All right.
Speaking of which, that sucks. Quick hitter, by the way. Sucks that to not have David Fry till middle of next season, late next season.
Yeah, it's going to be at least like 8 weeks into the season or something like that.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, get right, David Fry. They're going to come out and play well. They're going to come out and play well
for sure.
They'll be in first place when he comes back, and it'll be like boom, a brand new player on a brand new team.
Seamless transition.
I love
it.
You
got Manzardo up. You can do some first.
Yeah.
No, who's the other guy? Who's the other guy that never came up this year?
It's DeLauder.
DeLauder. Yeah, you bring DeLauder.
Yeah, I agree. They'll be all right. All right, some real quick hitters. Just let's go to the Buckeyes for a minute because they finally kind of looked better. I know they played Purdue. Purdue sucks. But they looked the way that you should look when you play Purdue, when you're a team that has the aspirations and expectations of the Ohio State Buckeyes. And it was, sometimes that's good to see. I don't know. I know everybody is like brushing it off because Purdue's not very good, but like sometimes when you go through a little stretch where you're not looking that good, the Buckeyes have wild games coming up. They've got this week. They're playing Northwestern at Wrigley Field, by the way. If you forgot about that, they're playing Northwestern at Wrigley this week.
Which have you seen pictures of that?
Awesome to watch. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Hopefully nobody's got to go diving out of the back of the end zone for a catch.
I was going to say if Smith is going to catch a touchdown and just smash into the brick wall. But then after that, you got Indiana.
Yeah.
You got Indiana coming, and they are look out. And then you got to beat Michigan. So it was good to see the Buckeyes just kind of get back to what they should be doing this week against Purdue.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, Will Howard had his best game since probably early in the season, an 80% completion percentage.
Yes.
And the Buckeyes did what they were supposed to do against Purdue, and that was kill them, murder them.
Utilized them.
Yeah, pretty much. Just again, I talked about get right games, and this was their get right game. They needed a game where they could just dominate and have that offense and that offensive line feel like they could do whatever the hell they wanted to and get back to dominant form. And that's exactly what they did.
Gregory asks in the comment, how long do you think Ryan Day's leash is?
Only one game that matters.
Thank you. I was just going to say the same thing. Go on,
Otherwise,
Joe.
it's as long as you want it to be.
Go on, Joe.
Yeah, it's got to be Michigan. Honestly, you lose Indiana, you lose the Big Ten championship. Who gives a shit? Beat Michigan, and you're on. You're in. He's done a great job with this team this year. I think Chip Kelly's been a really huge addition to the offensive play calling. The team feels a lot different this year. And I know Michigan's not really, the formidable opponent that it's been in the past, but like they're still going to put up a fight because it's a big game. But that's the game that keeps them on, the Buckeyes.
Chad, you and I are old enough to remember Buckeyes teams that went into Michigan games, heavy favorites.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Under a head coach named John Cooper.
And every year you got the feeling that this was the year too, because those Buckeye teams were so much more talented than those Michigan teams.
And you would go into that game going, we're going to kick Michigan's ass in this game. Yep. And then they wouldn't.
Yeah.
And it was, I think it's unfair to say it's just a John Cooper thing. Obviously it wasn't just John Cooper.
Right.
But it all went back to John Cooper could not win the game, even when he was heavily favored to do so.
Right.
Ryan Day has got to win that game.
He has got to. 100%.
I think if Ryan Day loses that game to this Michigan team, Ohio State's looking for a new coach.
They better be. You can't justify bringing him back if they lose to this Michigan team. You just can't.
So that's the leash there, Gregory. But again, I think there's reason for plenty of optimism. I don't know. They're going to be the toughest test for Indiana all season long. And it's going to be, that'll look like a great victory. If you go in,
the toughest test for Ohio State all season long.
Nope.
Aside from Oregon.
Oregon on the road is far tougher.
Sorry.
than Indiana.
It'll be the second toughest
left
test for Ohio State.
But you'll have a victory over a top 5 Penn State team. You'll have a victory over a top 5 Indiana team.
Right.
And then remember how they played in that game against Oregon on the road? You get by Michigan at the end of the year. You get by Northwestern, Indiana, Michigan. You're going to play Oregon on a neutral site. I'll take the way they played in that Oregon game. I'll take Ohio State on a neutral site. That was in Oregon.
Yeah. Are they still doing that in Lucas Oil, by the way?
Yes.
1,000%. Yep.
Home game.
So I think there's a lot of reasons to be like the most optimistic right now for the Ohio State Buckeyes. I think there's a lot of reasons for it.
Speaking of Michigan,
I'm not a big Will Howard fan, by the way, but I think there's a lot of reasons to be super optimistic.
Speaking of Michigan, this Connor Stallions fella, he's obviously still working for Michigan in some capacity.
You mean Coach Connor? You mean Coach Con? Coach Con?
Some capacity. Supposedly, he was speculation that he was on the Michigan sideline for the last game or 2 games ago. Then all of a sudden, he's in. He takes a coaching job in high school for a team that just absolutely blows. But now, all of a sudden, after he is on the sideline 2 weeks ago for Michigan, again allegedly. Now, all of a sudden, he's joined this coaching staff for this 5-star quarterback that Michigan's trying to flip. He just joined the coaching staff. Like, what high school team adds a coach for the playoffs to call plays? It's a little sketchy. It's a little sketchy.
So the kid's name is Bryce Underwood. He's the number 1 quarterback recruit in the country.
Right.
And he's committed to LSU. And Michigan is just going. So actually, I'm in Michigan right now. And I'm up here with a couple of guys that are just diehard Michigan fans. And I got a buddy of mine who is very smart about the whole situation. He's furious about the way they are acting with this kid because they're like, just why are we focusing? So Michigan has lost 2 quarterbacks in this process because they feel like you don't want us, you want this kid, and they left.
Right.
So they've lost 2 quarterbacks in this process, and this kid has given no indication that he is going to flip his commitment from LSU.
Yeah, none whatsoever.
So what are they doing?
But all of a sudden, Connor Stallions is calling plays for him at his high school.
But it's not just Connor Stallions. Like, they are like courting the shit out of this kid.
Yeah.
And he is giving them no indication. Like, let this kid. It's what I said to my buddy last night. We were talking about this last night. And I said, the fact that I think there should be 5-star recruits and 4-star recruits and 3-star recruits and all that, but there shouldn't be like number 1 ranked, number 2 ranked.
Right.
How many times has the number 1 kid out of high school gone into college and been the number 1 guy?
Right.
It never happens.
Rarely.
It rarely happens. Like, let the kid go and go get your Michigan. Go get another good player.
Right.
It's the same thing. If you're a program the size of Michigan, Ohio State, Alabama, LSU, whatever, go get a different guy. There's 50 5-star guys waiting to come to your school.
So many. Too many.
Go somewhere else.
Right.
Yeah, Michigan sucks. So Ohio State, Northwestern at Wrigley Field.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty freaking cool. Ohio State should win that game by about 100, right?
Yeah, 100%.
100
to 2.
Hundo. Just real quick, because it was an interesting weekend in college football. We should talk about it just a little bit. More top-ranked teams, more big-time ranked teams go down. Miami loses to Georgia Tech. What?
Yeah.
But it has felt all season long like that loss was coming for Miami. They have narrowly avoided that loss several times. Well, they got it this week. Ole Miss stomps the shit out of Georgia. Like that.
Right.
That game wasn't even close. 28-10. Ole Miss stomped Georgia. Iowa State went down. Michigan fell to Indiana. That was actually a really good game.
Right.
Indiana beats Michigan though. But it was another wild weekend.
You guys see right now who has a first round bye in the college football playoff?
It's BYU, isn't it?
Good old friend BYU, baby. Let's go.
Oh, by the way, that was the game. That's the game we should be talking about. What the fuck was that?
Yeah, no, that was bullshit.
Those,
That was total bullshit.
those officials were told BYU better come out of this game with a victory.
Yeah.
They had no business. The end of that game, the way that the officials just were like, well, yeah, but BYU is going to just keep the ball and keep moving down the field. Right. Outrageous.
Yeah. He got his hands on him. That's a hold. Yeah. That's a penalty for BYU.
Totally.
Yeah.
You hear them talking to each other like, oh, yeah, good. That's good. I agree.
That's fine. That's perfect. That's
100%.
perfect.
100%.
I'm just saying, if you see somewhere in the end of the game where you can throw a flag and help BYU out, you're fine.
No. In the meantime, though, this weekend, a pretty boring slate of football games in college football. Tennessee, Georgia, that should be a great one. Otherwise, not a lot going on.
I'm sure there'll be close games to watch.
But like
with all the chaos that's going on this year, it's you never know.
But this is that weekend where like some of the SEC teams have like Alabama, I think is playing Mercer.
Yeah.
Right. Like they've got like those other games scheduled, those non-conference late season, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Right.
Football. Anything we wanted to talk about in the NFL, boys? I mean, I know we're running up to the end of the show here. Anything else in the NFL happened this week? I like the way the Browns have played this year. And then with the bye week, to be honest with you, I just, I was like,
got your blinders on, like Chuck Pagano. I got your blinders on.
The only game I watched this week was the Sunday night game, the Lions and
Texans.
The Lions and Texans. What a game! The Lions played terrible. Man. The Lions came back and won, even though Jared Goff threw 5 interceptions.
Great, man.
Yeah,
they can figure out ways to win.
Yes, I'm taking solace in a couple things going on around the NFL though. Like Aaron Rodgers and the Jets stink. Like
real bad
stink. It's like it's a deathly stench.
It's a brown stink, actually.
Oh yeah, it's very Brownsian stink.
Yeah, very Brownsy.
It's a Brownsian level stink. And so I'm taking a little solace in that because I love when they stink. What else? Anything else interesting happening?
The Chiefs keep finding ways.
The
Chiefs just
that was incredible. I watched that live. That was crazy.
Yes. Well, there's two teams that keep finding a way. One of them is the Chiefs, and the other one's the fucking Pittsburgh Steelers, man.
Oh yeah, yep.
Who's the first place team in the AFC North?
It's Pittsburgh.
The 7-2.
Yeah.
The 7-2 Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah.
What the fuck? What the fuck?
And
you still got stupid yinzers over there in Pittsburgh that want to fire Mike Tomlin.
Right. No,
that's
always
stupid. Stop.
What?
Really? No. Russ is looking all right though. He's serviceable.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that Pittsburgh offense is something that luckily Arthur Smith isn't a huge difference between him and Matt Canada. So in that Pittsburgh offense, you're not asking him to do much. No. So yeah, Russ is looking pretty good.
He's doing all right.
It's true.
The defense is great. Its defense is always great.
Like we can talk about other big stories, like the Eagles going to but now the Dak's out. The Cowboys stink. That's right. Over. The Eagles looked much better. The Chargers still look really good. The Bears are starting to fire people now because the Patriots just stomped them.
Fucking
we can all stop talking about Joe Flacco now officially, right? Because he's horrendous this year.
Yep.
This is not the Joe Flacco from last year. I don't know what the Colts are doing, by the way. I don't know why you would have Joe Flacco in the game ever one more time.
The Colts should have called him 10 games into the season.
They're benching Anthony Richardson though.
Why, especially at this point, why is Anthony Richardson not just it doesn't matter even if he stinks. He should
prove a point. They're not benching him because he stinks because he tapped out.
He's got Josh Allen upside. He does.
He had the whole tap out situation.
Well, yeah. Well, maybe that's hey, you've lost faith in Anthony Richardson. We'll send you a third.
Yeah, deal. Deal.
Send him a third.
Yeah, come on over. Run for your life over here.
Yeah, that's right.
Same thing. Maybe slightly better receivers.
I do think hey, listen, and Gregory talked about it too. Why not take a flyer on Fields next season? 100%. I'm in.
Yes.
I'm in.
Yeah.
If you told me this offseason that the Cleveland Browns went out and found a way to get Justin Fields on this team, and we could just have the most expensive backup in the history of any sport that's ever existed, but Justin Fields is going to be your starter, my pants just got tight.
Oh, God. Wow. Okay.
Like 100%. Anthony Richardson. If the Colts truly don't believe in Anthony Richardson, if the Colts are benching this dude to watch Joe Flacco play terribly, and they're giving up on Anthony, I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm in.
Why not?
The Browns could do any of that stuff. Any of that stuff, and I'm in. I think the only other big story in the NFL right now is the Arizona Cardinals. I mean, they have been spectacular.
My old buddy, Jonathan Gannon. Way to go, pal.
They have been spectacular.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, they've been a nice story.
I'm in a hotel, and the room next to me has now turned up the volume on their TV as loud as it can go. And it is just blasting through this wall right now.
That's awesome. I hope it's porn. I hope they turn on porn.
Oh, no, they didn't. It sounds like Maury, maybe?
All right.
You are not the father. All right. Listen, 10:30, and we have had an awesome show. Anything else? Anything else we want to get to? We'll get to next week, as we'll talk more about it. We do want to dive more into the Blue Jackets and their season. It's been a little bit of a rough stretch, but we'll see if they can bounce back at some point. The Cavaliers, hopefully when we come back next season, next week, the Cavaliers are still undefeated. We're barreling towards a game with the Boston Celtics, by the way. That is very fun. So you might as well circle that one. And again, the Cleveland Browns are going to be playing. The Buckeyes are going to be playing. So big week ahead of sports, big weekend ahead of sports. And we'll get to all that. We skipped the asshole of the week this week because there just wasn't a ton of time. Do you guys have one that you were really excited to talk about?
Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones. CeeDee Lamb saying, hey, I couldn't catch the touchdown because I couldn't see. And then Jerry Jones, when talking to a reporter said, would you ever consider putting up curtains on the window? He's like, well, why don't we just rebuild the whole stadium? Not like the right response, like a very practical, easy solution, very cheap. Does not require a new stadium.
I've purchased curtains before.
Yeah. Just rip those down in your hotel room, Mike. Go give them to Jerry.
Yeah. Or, nice. Just like when your team's going west, like just draw the curtains. And then when they're defending west, pull the curtains so the opposing, use it to your advantage.
Home field advantage.
Come on.
Oh, my
Lord.
Lord.
What a dumbass response.
Well, he is a dumbass. So,
yeah. Jackets just scored, by the way.
Who did?
Jackets did.
Nice.
Jacks.
They've had issues scoring goals lately. So,
did you have any other ass? Did you have an asshole you were coming in dying to talk about, Chad? I didn't even have one.
No, I didn't.
All right. So let's do our cheers of the week because we always like to end on a positive note. Let's do our cheers of the week and then let's get out of here for episode 238. Man, Joe, you let us off with the asshole of the week. Why don't you just take it for the cheer of the week too?
The Cavs, man.
Fuck yeah.
How can you not cheer the Cavs, dude? Like, what a stretch, man. It's so fun. So exciting. Like, I feel like us as a city needs some positive energy because the Guardians are gone now. And we just need to not think about the Browns, and the Cavs are the outlet for us, damn it.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Chad?
All right. I'm going to cheers my baby boy, Fletcher. He's 6 tomorrow. It's a birthday tomorrow.
Baby boy.
Yeah. Happy
Let's
birthday,
go, Garage Beers Fletch turning 6 tomorrow?
6 tomorrow.
Hell yeah.
I built him his pitching net tonight. We're gonna pitch it into the net and bounce back. Oh yeah. We're practicing fielding tomorrow. Yeah.
A classic.
Dad, you want to place a ball? That's what he did. That's how he says it. That's how he asked me. That's
You're damn right, son. You're damn right.
We're gonna do it.
I'm gonna do a cheers of the week. The Bowling Green Falcons played. It was Maction tonight. They smoked. Who'd they play tonight?
Western Michigan.
Smoked Western Michigan. But I'm gonna give a shout out to how about that tight end for the Bowling Green?
Harold Fannin, man.
Harold.
I told you he's a stud. I texted you. He's a stud.
Harold Fannin is the number one tight end in all of college football. Yeah. This dude.
Oh.
What did he do that on election night? Actually,
Jacket scored.
Nice. So yeah, they scored twice, right?
I texted you that on election night.
Harold Fannin, 73 catches now in the season for over 1,000 yards and 6 touchdowns.
He's the man, dude.
Tonight,
He's the man.
10 catches for 137 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like, the dude is a stud.
That's what I said. I said trade Njoku and sign him.
Yes.
And draft him.
I am totally in. All right, boys, let's get out of here. That's going to do it for us on episode 238 of the Garage Beers podcast. We're going to give our thank yous out. First of all, big thank you goes out to Tim Alcorn, the radio voice of the Cleveland Cavaliers, for joining us and talking about the 12-0 Cavs tonight. Our next thank you goes out to the OBR for hosting us. Make sure you get over to theobr.com and hit subscribe. And our last thank you goes out to all of you, those of you that are watching, those of you that are listening. We appreciate you. We love you. And we will see you next week for episode 239. Until then, for Chad at Garage Beers Chad, for Joey at Garage Beers Joe, I am Michael Keefe at Garage Beers Mike. We will see you next week. Go follow the show at The Garage Beers on all the socials. And until then, see you later. Cheers, everybody.